أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وبعد. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، اللهم زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. After we praise the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, peace and blessings unto our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his families, friends, and all those who follow him. My respected brothers and sisters, we have discussed and spoke about the power of dua and how it saves many a people according to the Quran. Allow me today to speak to you about a situation of Nabi Yunus alayhi salam. We all know Nabi Yunus was swallowed by a whale. But that moment of darkness, that moment where it was impossible for mankind to be able to survive, while he find himself in that situation, that moment in time, as the Quran says, what did he do? فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ. So he called, he cried out, and he made dua through the darkness. While he was in the belly of the whale, darkness. And that moment he said, أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. There is no one to deserve the right to be able to worship. Now, if we ponder over that, ilah, my humble submission is that it's not only about there's no other ilah except to worship Allah, but the moment you find yourself in an awkward situation, a challenging situation, you refer to, I'm going to my ilah, I'm going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one that can save me alone. He's the one that can help me alone. So after he said that, he submit to his weakness. Subhanak, glory be to Allah, to you. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. That verily I was of the wrongdoers. I made a mistake. We are human, we make mistakes. But in the same time, we must admit, like Nabi Yunus says, admit that mistake. And he submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after making dua, as if he is saying, oh Allah, you are the only one that can save me. You are the ilah. I'm in difficulty. Help me. And that moment in time, immediately, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. And we answer his request. We responded to his request. We responded to him. And what is that response? وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. We save him from his grief, from this grief. We save him from the stress that he find himself in. But himself, Nabi Yunus find himself in. And in the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he did not stop there. By saying, I've only saved Nabi Yunus alayhi salam. Allah ends it off so beautifully to give us all that hope. وَكَذَلِكَ نُنَجِّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Ya Allah, look at this. Likewise, we will save the believers. Likewise, we will be there for the believers, for you and for me. We just have to call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever our challenges is, what we are facing in this world, we communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after all, we must have that certainty that we always believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for us. You know, Like I said this in the past, and I would like to repeat myself here. When there's one Sahabi that one day came to the Nabi salawatullahi alayhi, when he asked the Nabi salawatullahi alayhi, Man yuhasib al-khalqa yawm al-qiyamah? Who is the one that will take stock of us the day of Qiyamah? Who will question us the day of Qiyamah? The Nabi salawatullahi alayhi replied to him, say, Allah yuhasibna. Allah will take stock of us. Allah will question us. That Sahabi, he jumped of joy in the air. And he swears, Wallahi najawna Wallahi najawna. He swears by Allah, we'll be saved. We've been saved. The Nabi replied and asked him, وَكَيْفَ ذَلِكَ? How can that be? And he replied, and he said, Al-Kareem, the generous, إِذَا قَدَرَ عَفَى. The generous one who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he's capable and able, like Allah is, He will pardon us. He will forgive us. Now look at the confidence that was demonstrated by this Sahabi, Ridwanullahi alayhi. And the same with Nabi Yunus. He had the confidence at that moment in time, no one will be able to save me except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was saved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, my beloved brothers and sisters, is what we call tawadu, humbleness in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where you submit that Allah is the supreme. Allah is the only one that can help you and save you. And that tawadu, that humbleness, look what it brings to you, where the Nabi says, Tuba liman tawada'a lillah. Tuba, all the joy and happiness shall be for the individual that humbles him or herself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Tuba, many scholars of Islam say it is a village in the Jannah. Now, just imagine the dua, you humble yourself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By submitting to Allah, Allah is the only one that can assist you, like Nabi Yunus did here. So you have demonstrated humbleness. And not only does Allah accept your dua, but because of your humbleness, you have a village in Jannah. Ya Allah, make us of those. In the same time, we must understand that the moment we submit to Allah, the moment we humble ourselves to Allah, listen to what the Nabi salawatullahi alayhi said. Inna tawada' yazid sahibu raf'atan. Verily humbleness gives nothing else and increase nothing to a person except his status. His status by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, the Nabi ends off that hadith by saying, فَتَوَاضَعُوا يَرْفَعْكُمُ اللَّهُ. So be humble. Always connect with Allah in your dua. By doing that, you are humble. Allah will raise your status. The Nabi salawatullahi alayhi reminds us and tells us that. With that, we find Anbiyas. The Nabi salawatullahi alayhi himself. How many times we have heard he made dua? And how many times Anbiyas we have done the story of Nabi Musa. How Allah has responded to them, to him and to them. That is when we implement Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Thee alone do we worship, and thee alone do we ask for help. A total submission to Allah, that humbleness. When you do that, asking Allah, remember that famous hadith of Nabi Muhammad salawatullahi alayhi. Allah will never let us go empty-handed. He will respond to us like He has responded to Nabi Yunus alayhi salam when he says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. And we have responded to him, to his request. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also, when we humble ourselves and having that certainty, that yaqeen, that Allah will respond to us and Allah will help us, then we are fortunate to be able to be in that situation, to have that certainty of yaqeen that Allah will help us. May Allah forgive us, forgive our parents, those that has passed on. May Allah grant them and all of us Jannatul Firdaus. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let us always submit to Allah in a form of humbleness, and never forget always to communicate with Allah in whatever our heart desire and whatever we look for in life. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.